Hi, everybody. I am Ronnie Schalier, a Bonn Agreement representative from Belgium and co-author of the paper on 50 years of collaboration within the Bonn Agreement. Today, I will take you through the history and activities of the Bonn Agreement, which, as you may know, is the oldest regional agreement worldwide dealing with marine pollution. It all started in 1967 with the grounding of the Torrey Canyon in the United Kingdom, which caused the release of a huge quantity, 117,000 tons of oil in the sea. Several North Sea countries then joined forces and cooperated in the response operations. They realized that a coordinated response was the only effective way to protect their common marine region. And this willingness of the North Sea countries to collaborate was formalized in 1969 with the Bonn Agreement. And so the agreement is in fact a cooperation mechanism between 10 governments and the European Union in dealing with pollution of the Greater North Sea by oil and other harmful substances. And its current contracting parties are Belgium, Denmark, the European Union, France and Germany, Ireland, the Netherlands, Norway, Spain, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. Now, what are the key objectives and principles of the agreement? Firstly, to jointly combat accidental and deliberate marine pollution from shipping, offshore oil and gas operations, and other maritime activities. There is also an obligation to render mutual assistance in case of need. And the agreement contains provisions with a system for reimbursement of costs. We cooperate in prevention, preparedness, and response, and share information and develop best practices. And I can say that we have experienced through the years that there is a clear benefit to cooperate on a regional basis, and I will try to explain why. This slide gives a historic timeline of the agreement with a series of key milestones over the 50 years. And I will come back to many of these milestones in my talk. But so all started in 1967 with the grounding of the Torrey Canyon, which led to the Bonn Agreement in 1969, which at first focused on oil pollution. But in 1983, the agreement was extended to pollution by other harmful substances. And in that same year, the European Union joined also as a contracting party. In the early 90s, contracting parties started aerial surveillance activities, and the North Sea network of prosecutors and investigators was created, shortly called NSN, with the aim to facilitate effective prosecution of MARPOL offenders. In 2004, the Oil Appearance Code, or BAOAC, was approved, which is an international standard for oil volume estimations at sea. In 2005, the OSINET Oil Spill Identification Network was created to, amongst others, develop oil sampling and analysis standards. And then in 2007, the European Satellite Service System CleanSeaNet was created, which is run by EMSA, the European Maritime Safety Agency. In 2010, Ireland joined the agreement as a new contracting party. In 2015, we finalized a region-wide quantitative risk assessment called Be Aware. And then finally, in 2019, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of the agreement at the ministerial meeting where some important decisions were taken for the years to come. And the ministers also welcomed Spain as a new contracting party, but I will come back to that in more detail later on. Now, how does the Bonn Agreement work? First of all, we have annual contracting parties meetings, which we call Bonn meetings. We also have annual meetings of the Operational, Technical and Scientific Working Group, OTSOPA, which is often called the beating heart of the agreement, and which can organize subgroups, can organize ad hoc workshops, and so on. And every couple of years, important decisions, strategic action plans, and official declarations are endorsed at ministerial level. And we have had several ministerial North Sea conferences in the 90s, followed by a ministerial meeting in 2010, and most recently, the last ministerial meeting in 2019. Now, one of the key activities of the Bonn Agreement is surveillance. And this is performed with the aim to monitor, detect, and report pollution at sea. The main focus is on MARPOL monitoring and enforcement. But of course, surveillance is also a key type of operation in a major spill response. Now, contracting parties perform national flights in their zone of responsibility on a regular basis, but we also have what we call regional flight types, which are surveillance missions that are coordinated at a regional level. For instance, an example thereof are Tour de Horizon flights or missions, which are aiming at controlling discharges from oil and gas installations in the central part of the North Sea. Such operations are coordinated at regional level. The Bonn Agreement has drafted an aerial operations handbook, which contains best practice in surveillance and joint operational procedures. It also includes the Oil Volume Estimation Method, or BAOAC, Bonn Agreement Oil Appearance Code, which is used and promoted internationally, and also by NOAA, for example, in the States. And then surveillance experts, of course, cooperate with the North Sea Network of Prosecutors and Investigators, or NSN, to facilitate effective prosecution of MARPOL offenders. The Bonn Agreement also produces annual surveillance reports. And these reports contain statistics, annual statistics on spill detections. It contains maps showing pollution pressure in the area and also pollution trends. And these reports are published on the Bonn Agreement website each year. You can find them there. We also hold exercises, and we have various exercise types. For example, Bonnex Bravo is an annual alarm or communications exercise. Bonnex Charlie are annual sub-regional equipment exercises. And then the biggest form of exercise, which we call Bonnex Delta, is the regional full response exercise. And just to give you an example, the last Bonnex Delta, called Scope, was held in Norway in 2017. Scope consisted of an incident management workshop and also, and more importantly perhaps, a large-scale field exercise on both oil and chemical spill response, with the participation of about 500 people, 50 vessels, and various aircrafts, drones, and helicopters. And of course, the Greater North Sea region, which is characterized by a very dense maritime traffic, has had to deal with a number of significant spill events over these 50 past years. And some important ones are listed in this slide here. Now, it would be impossible, of course, for me to discuss all these incidents in detail with you. But the key message that I want to give here is that over the years, Bonn Agreement contracting parties have had to deal with various incident and spill event types, such as tanker spills, blowout events, oil and H&S spill incidents, spills in highly sensitive areas, in shallow waters, in deep waters, in storms, in icy conditions, and so on. And each of those incidents came with numerous lessons learned that we discussed and we learned from. And as such, we gained a vast experience in pollution preparedness and response. And in a way, this experience has been compiled, translated in a Bonn Agreement counter-pollution manual. This manual contains common procedures and best practice in response, with the aim to facilitate cooperation and mutual assistance in the region. It contains various chapters, such as, for example, on national organizations and contacts, on response strategies, on a joint command structure in case of a supranational response operation. And this is illustrated on the right here. There is a chapter on our pollution reporting system, which we call POLREP. There's a chapter on existing sub-regional response plans and on wildlife response. And there's a whole new part, which has only been finalized this year in 2021, on response to hazardous noxious substances. This is called the Interregional HNS Manual because it is a manual that has been drafted by experts from various European expert institutions with the help of three European marine regions, the Bonn Agreement for the North Sea, HELCOM for the Baltic Sea, and REMPEC for the Mediterranean region. Again, this manual has been published on the Bonn Agreement website, and you can find it there. Now, a special and unique expert network within the Bonn Agreement is OSINET, the Oil Spill Identification Network. OSINET, as I mentioned previously, was created in 2005, following major difficulties in identifying oil spill sources in some past spill events. The network developed international oil sampling and analysis standards, which are used to identify spill source in a spill event and to scientifically underpin pollution damage claims. It's in fact mostly the key evidence in damage claims. Now, OSINET performs annual intercalibration tests and also developed the COSIWEB database. This database contains the fingerprinting analysis results of more than 2,500 different oil samples, of which around 300 crude oils, and it allows the users, which are expert chemist labs, to make quick comparisons, for example, between a field sample that has been analyzed in the lab and other sample analysis results that are stored in the database. And OSINET could be called a real success story because it really outgrew the regional level and became a worldwide group. OSINET nowadays is a network of 43 expert chemist labs from 25 different countries, and it's still growing. And countries outside our region are, for example, Australia, Brazil, Belarus, Canada, China, Estonia, Finland, Greece, Italy, South Korea, Monaco, Malaysia, Portugal, and the United States of America. Now, between 2012 and 2015, the Bonn Agreement undertook a region-wide oil spill risk assessment with the aim to optimize the response capacity in the region. This was done in 2 consecutive European projects called BeAware 1 and BeAware 2. The approach used was to calculate the overall risk for oil damage, which is illustrated in this slide in the bottom right, which was based on traffic density, incident and outflow risks, and sensitivity maps. This led to the identification of the most effective risk-reducing measures and response measures in the various subregions of the Bonn Agreement area, which then had to be implemented, of course, in the years following the assessment. We also perform research and development, or R&D projects, on various issues with the aim to address new challenges, knowledge gaps, and so on. The main issues that are currently being tackled within the Bonn Agreement are listed in this slide, and these are improving our understanding of and response to new fuels. And these can be new oils, such as the low sulfur fuel oils, but also the alternative fuels that are increasingly being used, such as ammonia. We have a project running on improving our understanding of and response to chemical spills, with a special focus on gases and evaporators. We've been improving our decision support tools and advanced models. We had recent projects on sensor developments, and we are also currently working on ship emission monitoring. Now, this is a slide on the role of the European Union, and the EU, who is a contracting party to the Bonn Agreement since 1983, is a real driving force behind the agreement, offering key support in various ways. Firstly, via the so-called Union Civil Protection Mechanism, which ensures EU-wide coordination in case of a major European spill event through its Emergency Response Coordination Center called ERCC, but also through its project funding instrument, hereby stimulating research and development. And then secondly, the EU also offers key support via EMSA, the European Maritime Safety Agency, which offers a range of complementary operational services, such as CleanSeaNet, the satellite surveillance system. They offer spill response services to European member states. They created a chemical expertise network called MAREIS that countries can call upon in case of need. EMSA created an RPAS service in recent years, and so on. So to conclude, the Bonn Agreement celebrated its 50th anniversary at the ministerial meeting of 2019 in Bonn, the city and former German capital after whose name the agreement was initially named. The ministers present at that meeting jointly renewed the vision of a North Sea free from accidental and illegal pollution. A new Bonn Agreement strategic action plan was adopted for the coming years, and the ministers welcomed the accession of Spain, extending the Bonn Agreement area to the south with the inclusion of the Bay of Biscay. A new trend analysis was performed also up to 2030, which confirmed that the high spill risks remain throughout the region and that the contracting parties of the Bonn Agreement should continue their collaboration efforts. And finally, we also took up a new challenge, new work, which is the MARPOL Annex 6 surveillance, or the compliance monitoring offshore and near shore of ship emissions at sea. So in conclusion, I can say that although the Bonn Agreement is the oldest regional agreement in the world, our cooperation very much continues. And even stronger, I can say that we perhaps remain real drivers of various key issues in the field of marine pollution. So I hope you enjoyed this short introduction to the Bonn Agreement and our 50 years of work. I would say feel free to check our website. There is loads of information on our activities. There are plenty of reports, manuals, and so on. And you can, of course, always contact the Bonn Agreement Secretariat or myself if you have any questions left after this presentation. So I thank you for your attention.